Yeah. We also have another room that we want to talk about, and that's our extended care unit, or we call it the EC room, and that is a room very specific to animals that are sick. Those are animals that have an infectious disease. In this case, it's just strictly cats. It's got a separate air exchange. It's a completely separate room where, again, the access is limited as far as one person who cleans that room, checks that room out. Everything is done in the room itself so that we don't, cross-contaminate anything. When we were, again, at Dempsey Trail, one of the problems that we had was there was one air exchange. So that air was being processed through the whole building, and honestly, sick cats was the norm. That was an expected thing with all the cats that came through. So this way we are able to control upper respiratory, which is really, really a big thing and highly contagious. And so it's wonderful when we only have 3 or 4 cats in that room, whereas before, again, at Dempsey Trail, that was our entire population that was sick. So that extended care area has really, really done a tremendous job in keeping a lot of that contained. So we're happy to have that room as well. So,
and it's important for people to know that animals that are in the extended care unit, as they recover from their illness or whatever disease it is that they have, from there then they move up to rescue, and then from the rescue area they move up into the adoption area. So it's kind of like a little trail that they make through the building. The process of kind of some of them come in the back door and go out the front.
Yeah. So it's pretty normal, and this is a nice way for obviously the staff to get to know these animals as well, is because there is some time span where they're actually working with the same animal, and they get to know the personality, they get to know some of their very specific temperament traits, and so that's kind of an added bonus to when they come up front, that we have a little bit more intimate knowledge, I think, about those animals as well. So that's important.
And I think that kind of leads us into our back dog kennels, where our new arrival dogs are. A lot of times people will come in to look at dogs that are currently up for adoption, and they'll say, well, are these all the dogs you have? And no, it's not all the dogs that we have, but some of the dogs coming in are maybe surrendered by their owner, and they may be very frightened when they first arrive here at the shelter. Other dogs that come in as strays, maybe they just got out of the gate, got out of the fenced-in area. Those animals, when they come in, oftentimes are very frightened. And it's really important or less stressful for the animals if they're in a separate area where they only see a few people. And so the first 5 to 7 days that dogs are first at the Humane Society, they're only going to be seeing senior volunteers or staff people. And what this does is it helps the dog adapt better to being here at the shelter, and it gets used to the people and the routine. They learn that, oh yeah, in the morning we're going to go out for a run and we're going to have a walk, and then we're going to get fed. And they learn what the routine is before we attempt to do any type of temperament testing or caninality testing. We allow the dog time to settle into being at the shelter, where at our previous shelter, any dog that arrived, the public could walk past that dog. And again, I'm going to go back to my educational programs and the game I play with the kids of put yourself in the pet's place. If you were new to an area and very nervous and very unsettled, would you want a lot of strangers coming up and talking to you or petting you? And here again, it's also can be a safety issue for us. If we have a dog that's a new arrival, we don't know anything about that dog. And so if somebody wants to look at that dog, we're not comfortable at that time before we've temperament tested to just let somebody take that dog out for a walk.
Right. I think, we continually compare to Dempsey Trail, but I think that's important to remember is the difference in this building compared to Dempsey Trail is there is no comparison. Because again, the anxiety level for these animals coming in is very, very high, no matter what. This is a nice building, but they're still very frightened, very scared when they come in. So the fact that they are able to come in and they have a quieter environment and there's only a few people handling them is very important. The other thing is that, not all the animals we get in are friendly animals, or manageable as far as like with just the general public. We do occasionally get in animals that maybe have bitten, and we have to hold them for a certain period of time, or possibly there's a situation where we were requested by the police department to actually go into an environment with the police department and pull an animal for a number of reasons. And so, again, it's very important that these animals are kept separate from the general population. And so having a separate area is extremely important, not only for those animals, but for staff.
Right. And of course, here again, it comes down to when you don't know an animal and you're going to be taking it out of a kennel or taking it for a walk or feeding it, or maybe even clipping on a leash or changing, having to change its collar. Maybe it has a collar that's too tight. Again, this goes back to the fact that all of our staff have the handling skills to work with these animals. And so, there are animals back there that I certainly wouldn't feel comfortable taking out, nor would I feel comfortable having some of my friends or family, just come and take that dog for a walk until we have a better history about that animal. From the dog kennels, we're going to head out to the outside runs, and I think it's important for everyone to know that just like we encourage everyone to exercise their own dog, that the dogs at the shelter are exercised at least twice a day. And one of the benefits of having volunteers is sometimes the dogs even get exercise 3 and 4 times a day thanks to the help of volunteers. But it is imperative that every morning when we come in, the dogs are let out, and then staff people take them for a walk. And the dogs that are currently up for adoption have a separate area and separate runs that they're exercised in, and then the dogs that are in the back also have separate runs. Again, we're watching for the possibility of contagious disease or
Sure. It's easy enough to spread things through, obviously, animals eliminating and so on and so forth, so you can spread worms and that type of thing. So we want to make sure that these animals are kept separate until the time is right for them to mix. And talking about mixing is we also have a dog park. And this is just, every shelter would love to have what we have. Oh, yeah. And we were very, very fortunate because Dr. Dudley and his wife donated this property. And it is about a 3/4 acre, and it's all fenced in, and it's an area just exclusively for the dogs. And it's a wonderful, wonderful place for those dogs to play and run and be off leash. And we actually have what we call the dog get-along gang. And so we can get a lot of dogs in there, and they can just run and have a great time and just really, really enjoy themselves. So just a wonderful thing. So,
and I think that's one of the things that we're going to talk about in one of our future shows is dog mixing. Mm-hmm. And so when Joni talks about the get-along gang, we're talking about introducing one dog to another, and then they can play together on a regular basis and really blow off some steam, again, reducing the stress that they're feeling here at the shelter.
Well, we want to thank you today for joining us, and I hope that we were able to share a lot of things with you, and I hope you learned something about our Humane Society. So with that, we're just going to say thanks and happy tales to you.
Happy Tales was brought to you by the Oshkosh Area Humane Society and the following local underwriters: Cat's Cozy Inn, Poop Patrol, Provident Financial Consultants, LLC,